Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. As always, my name is Tim. This is Freight Master Resources, where we provide you with tips, tools, resources, and sprinkle in a little industry news to help you grow and be more successful in the freight industry. So I was going to do today's video on AI and kind of the elaborate on that a little bit more. I know I did some videos not that long ago on AI, but some of the emails that I've gotten lately, some of the phone calls that I've been on with you, not maybe you directly, but with some of the viewers, I felt like we needed to go over how to get customers. Right, that's always a big thing, regardless of what the market is doing. But for the past 2 years, it seems like it's been more and more challenging, right? Not just for freight brokers and freight agents, but for carriers as well out there trying to acquire direct customers. Okay, so I have my notes up here in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything. And we will jump into it. Oh, and one quick PSA for those of you that have DM'd me, emailed me. Yes, Operfi does accept new authorities. So if you're a new authority broker or carrier, yes, they will work with you. Okay. Just hoping to kind of cut down on some of the emails asking me about that. So just a quick heads up. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So you really kind of need to target your prospecting efforts, right? And you do that by identifying your niche. And this is something that even though I've gone over it with many of you via emails and phone calls and things, it always seems like I end up with those follow-up emails and calls after the fact. And I thought that I was pretty clear on identifying your niche, and how important that was. I don't know. We're still kind of doing the shotgun method, right? So basically, don't waste your time with generic calls and emails, right? Specialize in a particular industry, whether that be auto parts, produce, chemicals, whatever. Okay. Or focus on specific shipment types like refrigerated or oversized, right? Research online and compile a list of potential clients within your chosen niche. You can also do this, and this is a wonderful feature that eCarrierCheck has, is that you can actually break that down basically like by commodity, not just a particular shipper in a certain state or city, but it's so wonderful the way that you can kind of narrow down that niche, right? So whether you're after steel or produce or whatever it is, it could be shingles. You want to be the shingle shipping freight broker king or queen. They give you the ability to do that, to find that list of customers. Okay. And when you're, especially with the emails, with the, whether they're cold or warm, don't make it generic, right? I know I just mentioned that, don't waste your time with generic calls and emails, but it's fine, I guess, to some extent. But if you're targeting just, let's say, produce shippers, you don't want to make it so generic. We handle FTL, partial, LTL, drive-in, refrigerated, flatbed freight, right? Make it more targeted toward that prospect, right? Make it about them. Okay. Warm calling versus cold calling. Warm calling, leverage existing connections or research companies that have recently expressed interest in freight brokers. This increases your chances of a successful call, right? Going back to utilizing and connecting on LinkedIn, right? Don't just, again, going back to the generic thing, don't just do like generic connection requests and things. There's, different ways you can go about doing that, but you might type a quick little message in your connection request that I see that you're in the produce industry, or I see that you're the shipping manager for XYZ produce. And, we specialize in produce shipments, or I specialize in produce shipments. I came across this article that I thought you might find interesting or of value, right? Warm that up, okay? Don't just basically go for the throat right away. You're warming, everything up. Think about dating, right? Sort of similar there, okay? Cold calling, still a viable option, but it does require more upfront research. Okay, learn about the company's shipping needs and tailor your pitch accordingly. Right, going back to not being generic. I think I've mentioned in many of my previous videos on looking up news on a specific company, for instance. Maybe they're building a new facility somewhere. Bring that up during your call, that you've really kind of done your research on them. Okay, it's going to really help you out during that cold call. Utilizing resources, right? Industry directories, purchase access to directories and list manufacturers, exporters and importers by industry. Again, eCarrierCheck. I love eCarrierCheck. I use it daily. Online databases. Explore subscription-based databases with detailed company information, including shipping needs. Okay. Government listings. Browse resources like the USDA business listings to find companies in your target area. Okay. Those are a few examples. Network and build relationships. All right. This would be industry events. Attend trade shows and conferences to connect with potential clients and industry professionals. Do not forget to bring business cards, ink pens, something with you to hand out to those prospects. Okay. I like ink pens because it's something that they're going to use regularly. Okay. And so you're always in their hand. Right, your company name, your contact information that's on those ink pens is always in their hands. They're constantly looking at it. Okay. Social media. Build a presence on LinkedIn, industry forums, Facebook groups. Okay. Share informative content and establish yourself as an expert. Right. Going back to what I mentioned just a moment or two ago. Referrals. Ask some of your satisfied customers for referrals within their networks. Okay. I believe I've talked about that in previous videos as well. Asking for referrals. Some tips for calling shippers. Oh, which, by the way, before I get into this next section, I am going to go through and elaborate on warm calling and cold calling here in just a moment. So stick with me. Okay. Some tips for calling shippers. Preparation is key. All right. Research the company beforehand and understand their shipping challenges. You might also look at, which I forgot to mention in my notes, but it clicked with me just a moment ago, is look at like Indeed or on LinkedIn. Okay. Different places that are hiring transportation managers, oftentimes because, for whatever reason, the person that they had there, that decision maker, is no longer there. They probably have somebody filling in for them, right? That, maybe they know completely what they're doing or not. I've talked about that in previous videos as well. You call up a company like that and they're like, oh, thank God, I need so much help, and so you kind of just sort of take that over for them, right? Understand their needs, and be that problem solver for them while they find a person to fill that position, full time. and then, obviously, proceed to keep working with that customer, right? Focus on value, right? Don't just be a salesman, like I mentioned about your LinkedIn connections, all right? Highlight how your services can solve their specific problems and improve their bottom line, all right? Be clear and concise. Explain your value proposition quickly and efficiently, okay? And respect the shipper's time, all right? I've listened in on other cold calls from, maybe new agents or new brokers, and they again, and I know I use this reference often, but I mean, they'll get the person on the phone. I don't know if it's just out of nervousness or they just really want to relay their message, but they'll go on for 15 minutes about how they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and everything's going to be rainbows and unicorns, and only, you didn't give the prospect a chance to say anything. You just kind of rambled on with, everything, and it just doesn't work out. So be respectful of their time. Myself personally, my humble opinion is to be very direct, okay, and short and to the point, okay. Active listening. Pay close attention to the shipper's needs and concerns. Right? Ask relevant questions to demonstrate your understanding. Okay. So you're not going to call a produce shipper and ask them how many coil racks they need, right? That's steal. Okay. So, relay that. And obviously follow up. Always follow up after your initial call with a thank you email and reiterate the value you can provide, right? Don't just, say thank you, kind of reiterate a little bit about, some highlights from your call with that prospect. Okay. And by implementing these strategies, you'll develop a targeted approach to finding and calling shippers, increasing your chances of acquiring new customers and growing your freight brokerage business or your freight agency. Okay. Now, let's get into cold calling a little bit further. Okay. Cold calling can be daunting, but with the right approach, it can be a powerful tool for freight brokers to find and acquire new customers. All right. There are some key steps to turn those cold calls into warm leads. Okay. Preparation is king, right? Know your niche. Tailor your pitch by specializing in an industry or shipment type, like we mentioned earlier. Research common shipping challenges faced by your target audience. Okay. Research your prospect. Understand the company's business, recent news, and potential shipping needs. This personalizes your approach and demonstrates your knowledge. Okay. And craft a compelling script. Okay. Develop a clear and concise opening that quickly grabs their attention. All right. Highlight a specific pain point you can solve or a benefit you offer. Okay. Excuse me. The art of the call, right? Or the cold call. Confidence is key. All right. And I can't stress that enough. Confidence is so key. Project enthusiasm, but sound professional, right? You don't want to sound like Bozo the Clown, obviously, with not that, tone the enthusiasm down a little bit, but, have a positive attitude. It really goes a long way. Okay. Focus on value, right? Don't just promote yourself. Explain how your services solve their problems. Highlight cost savings, efficiency gains, and improved reliability. Okay. Active listening is also crucial. Pay attention to their concerns and ask relevant questions. This shows genuine interest and allows you to tailor your pitch further. Okay. Objection handling. This is another thing that I get. Be prepared for common objections like we're happy with our current broker or carrier, right? Offer solutions or suggest a free consultation to demonstrate your value, right? Or, offer to do some free quotes for them to see, where your pricing comes in versus, the current pricing that they have. Obviously, I've run into shippers. I've done this, And while they were a little bit reluctant, they're like, okay, I'm going to send you over 3 of our most recent loads. Let me know where you come in at on these. Okay. And my pricing, while I didn't feel it was the cheapest, I wasn't also the most expensive, but obviously after I turned in my quotes to that prospect, they actually called me back 5 minutes later, or within 5 minutes, and said, are you sure you can move it at this price? And I said, yeah, I've got trucks there all the time, and they're like, okay, because we've been getting charged this amount from our current broker, which was, I mean, it was pie in the sky rates. I mean, it was massive, and especially during, the recession that we've kind of been in, that shipper just had no idea that they were essentially being overcharged. Okay. Again, going back to respecting their time, keep the call concise and focused. If they're not interested immediately, ask if you can follow up later and offer additional information. Now, this is something else that I do, is I always ask if maybe there's a better time to reach out to them. Maybe they're a seasonal customer and they are not really ready to start onboarding new brokers or carriers. And so, ask, instead of just saying, no, we're not really doing anything right now, but thanks anyway. Ask them if there's a better time that you could follow up with them, or ask if you can send over, email over your information, right? So that they've got it on file. And if they say yes, always follow up a couple of weeks, a month later, whatever it is. Obviously, if it's a special seasonal customer, and know when that season starts too, obviously. Okay. Again, following up is key. Don't leave them hanging. Persistence pays off. Okay. Don't give up after one call. And I've mentioned this numerous times throughout the course of my videos. A well-timed follow-up email or call can spark their interest. All right. Maybe, when you reached out to them, they were just having a bad day and they just no, or, whatever the case may be, always call back, and obviously, there's times I've called back a week later and then landed that customer that basically blew me off on that first call. Right. Like I said, maybe they're just having a bad day. Something happened at work and a forklift driver quit and now they got to, whatever. Practice makes perfect. Okay. Roll calls or role play calls with a colleague, your spouse, your significant other. Practice in the mirror if you want to, right? To refine your pitch and delivery. By implementing these strategies, you can transform cold calls into warm opportunities and connect with potential clients to grow your business. All right, moving on to warm calling. Okay, now warm calling is a freight broker's secret weapon for acquiring new customers. All right, unlike cold calling, random numbers, and that kind of a thing. Warm calls leverage existing connections or target companies that have already shown some interest, right? Maybe you've been corresponding on LinkedIn as an example. And here's how to turn those warm calls into hot leads, right? Or turn those, those warm calls into, let's give this a shot. So building your warm call list. Number one, you need to network like a pro. Okay. And I know I've used this well, I won't get into that example. Again, attend industry events, connect on LinkedIn, build your relationships with potential clients and industry professionals, right? Leveraging your existing clients. Again, asking satisfied customers for referrals within their network. Their positive experience builds trust with potential leads, right? Because they can say, hey, yeah, Tim's been, really great for us. It's very rare that, we run into any problems. Typically, all the trucks he sends in, picks up and delivers on time, and if there ever is an issue, it's, on the most rarest occurrence that I even have to get involved because he just problem solves everything for us. Right. So that kind of thing. Identify past inquiries. And this is why having a CRM is so important. Obviously, I've mentioned before that I like HubSpot, but find one that you like and use that. But yeah, follow up with companies that previously contacted you about freight services, but didn't convert, or other prospects that you contacted, like I mentioned earlier. Keep being persistent, right? But identify those. Don't let them get so far out. Crafting your warm call approach. Okay. Again, I'm getting tongue-tied. Bear with me here one moment. Personalization is key, right? Reference your connection or the past interaction to establish a rapport. Okay. Always focus on value. Demonstrate how your services address their specific shipping challenges they've previously mentioned, right? And you might ask some of those questions, through correspondence on LinkedIn, emails, things like this, before you actually try to sell on them. Highlight success stories. Briefly share examples on how you've helped similar companies in their industry. I've done this. It works fantastic, right? The warm call magic touch, as I like to call it. Obviously, we talked about confidence, and it's contagious. Okay, be enthusiastic, sounding professional. Be an active listener, right? That's absolutely golden. Offer solutions. Okay, not just sales pitches. Frame your services as solutions that directly address their challenges and goals. Okay, and suggest the next step, right? Like we mentioned earlier, offer free consultations or quotes to showcase your expertise even further. And again, even with the warm calls, be respectful of their time. Okay. And following up, obviously, as we've mentioned, and how crucial that can be, obviously you don't want to drop the ball. Send that thank you email. And again, summarize some of the points that you had, that were brought up during your conversation. And by reiterating, your proposed next steps. Okay. And stay on their radar. Okay. Schedule a follow-up call in the near future, or send informative content related to their industry shipping challenges. Okay. I realize that some of this was redundant. Some of that information sort of overlapped between the cold calling and warm calling, but it is absolutely key. All of these things are absolutely key to not just finding, but acquiring new customers. Okay. There's been a few of you, there's just absolute desperation, and I keep trying to offer, tips and things. And I don't know. I'm hoping it works out for you, but for some reason we keep reverting back to the shotgun method, and being very generic with our searches and our calls, right? But by implementing, warm call strategies, you'll build those genuine connections, showcasing your expertise and converting warm leads into loyal customers, right? Who fuel your freight brokerage's success. So basically, their success is your success. Don't just be a load board jockey out there. I hope everybody found this informative and helpful, and you can start implementing these strategies today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, right? Have it be a part of your regular sales process. Okay. I guess we've going on about 25 minutes now, so I won't take up any more of your day. I hope everybody's having a good one, and as always, be kind to one another. Bye-bye.